Man, UFC main event victories don't come easy, right? So what's the feeling like for you right now?
It's surreal, man. You know, I've always been vocal since I got into the UFC that my goal is to become a world champion. And I think the key is really setting the small goals along the way. And, you know, that 4-fight win streak in the UFC has eluded me for a while. You know, and being able to achieve that goal tonight, getting my rematch with the main event, and getting a fair shake on the officiating standpoint. Shout out to Mark Goddard. You know, winning my first main event. It's just it's achieving these small goals along the way to get to the ultimate prize, and this wouldn't be possible without my teammates, without my coaches. Yeah, that was a tough fight, man. Neil's as tough as they come. That guy can beat anybody on any given day against anybody in the division. So I'm very happy with how tonight went.
I was going to say, I mean, you look at the win streak you have, like maybe some bigger names before, right? But I mean, Neil, as you said, as tough as they come. So personally, you know, where does this victory rank for you?
This is the biggest win to me, for sure. You know, Neil and I, we've kind of been talking about fighting each other for a while. You know, I called him out after I fought Carlos Condit. You know, he called me out after he fought Leach. You know, so we've been kind of eyeing each other for a while. And you know, when I got cleared to come back, you know, I'd been eyeing a guy in the top 5 since I beat RDA. You know, and then I had surgery and the pandemic hits, and so I had a long layoff. And once I was cleared to go back, this was the best. This was the highest ranked, most available guy, and it was the fight that made the most sense. And you know, and outside of that, I just knew Neil's that's a tough test for me. I mean, that's a legit welterweight. That guy was on the cusp of becoming the all-time wins leader had he beat me tonight, beating George St. Pierre. You know, so he's as game as they come, and I'm very happy with how things went. And you know, the short notice main event, I didn't even really think about it. I was at the Holiday Inn. I forget which reporter asked me. They're like, are you worried about stepping into a main event after a year layoff? I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. And I'm glad I didn't. You know, so I think that just shows that I have a lot I can build off of right now. And the key is to stay active. You know, I'm going to get home, take a little bit of time off, get some snowboarding in, you know, get some training in that's going to, you know, structurally, I'm very sound. For now, I don't feel like I have anything going on. A little something in my eye, but that's about it. But the key is to stay active, and I want to get myself into some big fights this year.
I know, you know, finishes are always valued, but I mean, is there some value as well in going 25 minutes and kind of knowing what that feels like?
Hey, my priority is always to finish. But how easy is it to finish Neil Magny? It's not easy at all. I mean, you saw what Hector Lombard did to him, and he came back and finished him. You know what I mean? You know, so I always want to get finishes, but you can't expect that as you're getting closer to the top of the heap in this division, especially 170 pounds. I mean, it's stacked. But I have a lot of improvements I can make. This is my first fight in a year. I showed I can push for 5 rounds, and you know, these guys should be worried. The next time you see me this year, I'm going to be a totally different guy. I'm going to be a totally different fighter, and I'm going to prove I can be the best. I'm going to prove that I belong to being a #1 contender fight before the end of the year. I think tonight I showed I can. You know, I think pushing through 5 rounds, that's a key to show. Like you can't clamor about being a champion in the UFC if you can't fight for 5 rounds. You know, so my focus was winning, but I kind of I set the expectation for myself. Like, it's almost like Rocky 1. Like, I just want to go the distance. I just kept telling myself, like, I want to finish this guy, but if I come up short and I lose, I at least want to go the distance to know that I can go 25 minutes in a fist fight. So I'm just glad I wasn't on the losing end of that.
And lastly for me, like you said, I mean, you're going to have some big fights lined up on the horizon for sure, but you had the call-out ready as well. Why is that the fight to make? Because
he's the toughest matchup for me. Stylistically, that guy should beat me on any given Sunday. From a physical standpoint, from the mental warfare standpoint, there's not a lot of boxes you can check that favor me in that fight. But how can I say I want to be a champion if I don't want to fight the best guys? And sometimes the best guys are the ones that are the toughest for you stylistically. So when I look at the top 5, I think that's the hardest fight for me. So, you know, we'll see what happens. And if I come up short, I come up short. But you know, I want to be the best, so I got to fight the best. So that's the guy. And I think that with me saying that I want to have the year I was supposed to have last year, it seemed fitting to just call out the same guy. So we'll see how everything shakes out. But for now, man, I want to enjoy this win. I want to get back behind the desk, join the boys, call some fights, have some fun, but stay active, you know, so we'll see what happens. Law and order, baby.
Right. You mentioned you and Neil have been sizing each other up for a while now, so you've obviously been thinking about the guy for so long. So after spending 25 minutes in there with him, did anything catch you off guard that he showed up with?
He's got a good flying knee. No, I kind of knew what to expect from Neil. You know, anything can happen in a fight. Anything. You know, you got to expect the unexpected, but this is when I say being an analyst and being in broadcasting comes into your favor as a competitor, because I know what to expect against any guy I'm going to compete against. I have to break these guys down in a different way. You know what I mean? I spent the bulk of my career, you know, breaking guys down from a standpoint as like me competing against them, whereas now as a broadcaster, being an analyst, I break these guys down, taking myself out of the equation, so it opens up my eyes to seeing their strengths and their weaknesses a lot more. And then when it comes down to me competing against them and I plug myself into the equation again, I think it makes it easier for me to know every single thing I can possibly expect getting into these fights. So there's nothing Neil did that surprised me, but that doesn't mean it wasn't hard to deal with. I mean, that guy pushed me to my limits tonight. That was a tough fourth round. You know what I mean? That fourth round was pretty challenging, and I think I got to go back and watch the fight, but I'm pretty sure that you can see I was getting fatigued, and you know, there's nothing that surprised me, but that doesn't mean just because I wasn't surprised that it wasn't hard to deal with.
Well, that kind of goes into my next question. After you said 1 year off, main event, like injury and all that, did those last 2 rounds kind of catch up to you at one point?
I think that a little more notice. I think maybe it wouldn't have been much of an issue, but you know, my coach said it best. That 5th round was mental. You know, I was getting pretty toasted after that 4th round, and you know, when I sat on the stool going into the 5th, he's like, "Hey, this is all in your head. Fight with your heart. Go out if you want to be a fucking champion." And he literally says, "If you want to be a fucking champion, you got to go win this round." And I'm like, you know what I mean? At some point, you get like it's not even the 2nd or 3rd win. You just go, and you go until you die. You know what I mean? And I was ready to do that. I was ready to push through that 5th round until literally, if I just would have croaked and died in the octagon, so be it. But I wasn't about to lose to fatigue in that 5th round. So I think more of a notice, and I could have been a little more prepared for those championship rounds. But that's all the more reason to be proud of myself. A year layoff, jumping into a main event against a cardio machine. I'm happy.
And finally, they also confirmed Usman Burns during the broadcast. What do you think about that fight?
Love it. Everybody knows I'm a Burns fan. You know what I mean? I'm a grappler. I love jiu-jitsu. Burns is a cool guy, man. Him and I, we've always had some good interactions. And dude, that guy's like the ultimate threat. He can knock you out. He can submit you. And you know, if you even go back and watch his gi jiu-jitsu matches, his style is violent. He's a very violent man. And you know, Usman's on the cusp of becoming, you know, arguably the most dominant welterweight champion we've ever seen if he beats Burns. So, I mean, that's a perfect championship title fight. I'll be watching very attentively. There's some big fights coming up at welterweight. I'm going to enjoy this win. I'm going to get in the booth. I'm going to get back to being an analyst. But I'm going to stay active, man. I think 2021 is going to be my year. Boom.
Mike, here to your left.
To the left.
Right here.
Hey, Mike. What's up?
You said, you know, it was going to be tough to make it pretty against Neil. Do you think there's anything more you could have done in that sense, or do you think you kind of hit the peak on that side?
You know, I'm not disappointed I didn't get a finish, but I mean, it always feels good when you finish a guy. But like I said, man, I'm very proud of myself to go 5-minute rounds. That's a feat in itself, man. And to do it after a year layoff and a short notice main event, you know, the way we train at home is very smart. You know, my head coach, Rick Little, he doesn't let me, kind of touching on that note that Max Holloway talked about when it comes to sparring and whatnot, like, we don't do any unnecessary contact in our gym. So if you have a 3-round fight, you're only sparring 3 rounds. And sometimes, if the intensity is getting high, you're only sparring for short rounds. You know, we're big on preservation of the body. You know what I mean? So on that note, I think that if I had a longer notice, yeah, we could have been more conditioned for the championship rounds. But you know, the way we prepare, we're not going to take any unnecessary damage in the gym. I know a lot of guys are like, every day I spar, I'm going 5-minute rounds. It's like, well, if you don't have a 5-round fight, what's the point? You know what I mean? Only do when it comes to preparation, don't take any unnecessary damage in the gym. So a little longer notice for a main event. I think I could have been more conditioned for those extra rounds. But I mean, who knows? I mean, this is Neil Magny we're talking about. This is a guy that is known for his cardio, trains at elevation, and has a penchant for being able to push a pace for whether it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds. I mean, the guy's a cardio machine, so maybe it would have made a difference, maybe not. Either way, I'm just happy I won.
And last thing, we know Colby Covington is trying to fight Jorge Masvidal. If this press conference comes across his desk, why should he fight you instead?
Because I'm asking. I mean, not a lot of guys are asking to fight Colby Covington. I think the only guys I can think of is like me and Bilal Muhammad and Burns. You know, Burns asked to fight him. But we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? I just think I literally that was a shot from the hip. I did not usually going into a fight. I'm always kind of like thinking about who I'm going to call out next and kind of having that idea in my head. But this fight, it was a clean slate, and I don't know. It just jumped in my head. It's inauguration day. I don't know, man. Maybe I should be a pro wrestler or something. That was totally from the hip. That shot from the hip. Pow, you know. So we'll see what happens, man. If he gets the Jorge Masvidal fight, more power to him. That's a big fight. They probably do the Ultimate Fighter or something. We'll see what happens, man. But you got to shoot your shot in this sport. I try to tell these young guys all the time, man. Like when you win a fight, that is your golden opportunity. Is that 1 minute you have after you win a fight? Capitalize on it. Shoot your shot. See what happens.
Mr. Chiesa, to your right.
Schmo. Hey, timeout. Schmo got his butt whomped on in Mario Kart. Just for the record, put that in the headlines.
That was the confidence you needed to get the victory. We let you win. Next time, N64. But I feel like you jinxed yourself for this fight. You said that you were going to come away maybe with a black eye for those wedding photos, and I think you're going to have a black eye.
I know. I did, man. I think it was like I don't know, I manifested it. But yeah, you know, get the engagement photos done on the first, and hopefully I got a couple stitches. I think I need a little stitch or two in here. I got like this funny spot in here or whatever. But yeah, I got my black eye, man. I earned it. Earned in blood.
What was the turning point for you in this fight when you realized that you were going to get the victory because you were getting the best of him during those grappling exchanges?
I knew, you know, the first round went good. You know, it's true. When you get in these 5-round fights, you just kind of like, you go into a different time space. Like I just kind of like, everything kind of started to blend together. But I do know that was a tough 4th round for me. You know, I was able to push a pace through the first 3. And I don't know if it was the 4th round when he kind of had my back, and I kind of had to hit some weird scrambles. And I remember getting caught in that inverted triangle, and your mind plays tricks on you when you're in there. Fatigue's a hell of a demon. It can really send some messages to you and talk to you. And me and Fatigue were having a conversation, but I hit that stool in round 5, and you know, my coach Rick Little just like, dude, he spit some hot fire to get me off that stool and push through that 5th round. So I feel like there was a little bit of a momentum shift for Neil in the 4th, but I was ready to die in that 5th round. I was ready to push myself to my limits, and I did just that. And I'm very happy with how things went.
And lastly, how quickly will we see you back at the analyst desk?
March 13th. I'm going to call the Hamza Chimaev Leon Edwards fight. For now, you know, if something comes up sooner, I'll take it. But for now, it's March 13th. You know, and I enjoy doing that a lot. And I proved tonight. I know that there was a lot of people out there saying that, you know, I know Neil had said something. I know it's like build up for the fight, saying like I'm going to make him question being a fighter and make him want to be just an analyst and whatever. You know what I mean? He's just, you know, that's just the build up for a fight. But I know outside of that, there's a lot of people saying that like, us guys that are, you know, competitors as well as working in broadcasting, we're you know, like it's a bad mix. And it's like, I want to tell those people to screw off. You know what I mean? It's good for me. It's good for my career. It's good for me as a competitor. So I'll work the desk as many times as I can before I get booked for a fight. July at the earliest is when you'll see me competing again. But between now and between July, I'm going to be working behind the desk a lot.
Enjoy the slopes.
Thank you, Schmo.
Congratulations, Mike.
I was waiting for my man. What's up?
What's up, man? Now the fight's over, I'm curious to know how fight week was for you and if you had any challenges with the setup out here.
No, I love Abu Dhabi. I literally, in 12 months, I've spent like a month and a half, almost 2 months out here. you know, after I beat RDA, my teammate Austin Arnett, he fought on UAE Warriors out here. And that was before the pandemic, so I was out here for like a week and some change. And then I was out here for, you know, 3.5 weeks for the second Fight Island stint. And then, you know, it was that window that I was here that I was like, I want to fight out here. I love the setup. I've never fought internationally. Everybody at the W Hotel is so accommodating. Like, it's unreal. Like, whatever you need, they'll take care of you. And as well as the UFC. I mean, they made this, it didn't feel like an international fight. I think everybody felt like this is like a neutral ground, and that's always great, you know. But no challenges. The UFC's, dude, they're the best. They're the best sports organization in the world. And I'm not just saying that being a company man. I'm just saying it because look at what they've done in the last year. They've made it possible for us all to maintain our jobs as journalists, as competitors, as the UFC staff, everybody. You know, so it was smooth sailing all fight week, very accommodating. But as much as I love Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, I'm ready to get back to the mountains of Spokane, Washington.
Nice. What are you doing tonight to celebrate?
Mojitos. Mojitos, baby. If you guys were around for that second Fight Island stint, you know Mojito Mike is coming out tonight. So batten down the hatches, ladies and gentlemen. Let's party.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, bud.